Balancing of redox equation continued. Example 2. If you watch on the board, you see the example 2 there. Heptaozodichromate 6 ion plus sulfide ion to give you chromium 3 ion and now sulfur solid. So first of all, don't forget that the first thing we should do here is to identify oxidizing agent and the reducing agent. Identifying oxidizing agent and reducing agent will help us to know which one will be placed on oxidation half equation and the one that will be placed in reduction half equation. So let us see how to identify oxidizing and the reducing agent. But don't forget that the best way to identify them is to consider their changes in oxidation number. Consider the change of oxidation number of a chromium at the left hand side and what it is at the right hand side. The same thing with sulfur. Consider the oxidation number of sulfur here and check what it is here. That will give you a clear route to understanding or identifying oxidizing and reducing agent. And don't forget that if you are able to identify their changes in oxidation number, that one that has its oxidation number decreasing in the positive direction actually is the oxidizing agent. But that one that has its oxidation number increasing, that one is the reducing what? Agent. Let us check. Chromium here. How do we identify oxidation number of chromium here? Simply find the oxidation number of a chromium here. Let me just do it at the side, by the side. This one I'm going to equate it to -2. Remember, if it's an ion, equate it to the charge. If it is a neutral compound, equate it to what? 0. So chromium here is 2 plus oxygen. The oxidation number of oxygen is -2, but we have 7 of oxygen molecule there equals -2. So 2 chromium minus 14 equals -2. -2 times 7 is -14. So collect like terms. 2 chromium equals -2. This -14 causing sign of equality changes to what? +14. So 2 chromium equals +12. -2 plus 14 is +12. Now, how do you get chromium? Divide both sides by 2. Chromium equals +12 divided by 2. This is equal to +6. Which means oxidation number of chromium in this ion is +6. Is +6. So now check that of sulfur. Check that of sulfur. The oxidation number of sulfur is clearly stated there. -2 to what? 0. When it is standing in uncombined state, is 0. So sulfur changes from -2 to what? 0. So if you watch very well now, you understand that. So that is to say that chromium changes from +6 to +3. Sulfur changes from -2 to 0. So if you watch from what we have learned so far, you see that chromium is decreasing in the positive direction, while sulfur is increasing. -2 to 0 is an increase. That is to say that this one, the whole thing of this thing now is an oxidizing agent, while this sulfide ion is the reducing agent. That is the first step. We now have identified oxidizing agent and reducing agent. The next step now is to represent reducing agent in the oxidation half equation. Why? Because reducing agent is that species that is oxidized. Why we represent oxidizing agent on the reduction half equation? Because oxidizing agent is that one that is what? Reduced. Let us see how to represent them. Oxidation half equation. I have represented the reducing agent on the oxidation or in the oxidation half equation. Don't forget how we are picking it. Sulfur and the sulfur, chromium and the chromium. There's no way you pick sulfur, then you pick chromium. It's wrong. So that is why you see sulfur ion here and sulfur solid, just as we have in the original equation. Now, the first step is to balance number of atoms. Sulfur here is 1, sulfur here is 1. Number of atoms is balanced. The next thing is to balance number of charges. It is obvious here that sulfur on the left-hand side, the number of charge here is -2, while the number of charge of sulfur on the right-hand side is 0. Left-hand side, -2. Right-hand side, 0. Why is it 0 here? Oxidation number of every element in the uncombined state is 0. Don't forget that, is 0. So, how do we balance number of charge? If you remember what I told you in example 1, I told you that in oxidation half equation, we always add electron at the right-hand side of the equation in order for the number of charges to balance. While at the reduction half equation, we add the number of electrons at the left-hand side of the equation. It's a major rule. If you can get that, fine. Okay, here is -2 and here is 0. What do you do to balance it? What do you do to balance it? Just like I have said, sulfur, aqueous, sulfur solid, I have added 2 electrons. Don't forget that when you are adding 2 electrons, it's actually minus because electron is negatively charged. This minus on top of the electron will always cancel positive. So the number of charges now remain -2, and here is what? -2. The number of charge is balanced. Number of atom is balanced. Let us now go to reduction half equation. Let us go to reduction half. This is the reduction half equation. Pick chromium and chromium. So the first step there is, remember, oxidizing agent is represented in reduction half equation because it is reduced. Let us check first number of atom, whether it is balanced. Number of atom. Chromium is 2 here, but chromium is 1 here. So we are going to add 2 here. Now, don't forget the rule. To balance number of, if you watch, oxygen is on the left-hand side, but you didn't see any oxygen on the right-hand side. The rule is to balance number of oxygen. Add water. Add water. So I'm adding water here, plus H2O, plus H2O. Remember, if you have added water, invariably hydrogen has been added. Now, to compensate that hydrogen that has been added on the right-hand side, you add hydrogen ion. We did this in example 1, and it's a major rule. If you can understand that, the better for us. Now, having added water here and balancing it with the hydrogen here, let us now balance number of atoms. Chromium 2, chromium 2. Oxygen 7, oxygen 1. What do? We add 7 at the front of water. So oxygen has become what? 7 is affecting everything here. 7 oxygen. How many hydrogen? 7 times 2 is 14. 14 hydrogen. 14 hydrogen. So the number of atoms now, I guess, is balanced. Let us check again. 2 chromium. 2 chromium. 7 oxygen. 7 oxygen. 14 hydrogen. 7 times 2. 14 hydrogen. What is the next step? Balance number of what? Charges. Balance number of charges. Let us check number of charges at the left-hand side. Here is -2 plus 14. -2 plus 14, which will give us plus 12. To give us plus 12. So the charge of this side is plus 12. And the charge of this side is what? 2 times 3 is what? Plus 6. Remember, water is neutral. It has no charge. So we have plus 12 here and the plus 6 here. How do we balance them? How do we balance number of charges? Remember that we are adding number of electrons at the left-hand side to balance number of charges. So look at how it goes. Chromium This is minus plus 14 hydrogen ion plus 6 electron gives us 2 chromium plus 7 molecules of water. I have added 6 electrons here. Why? Because the number of electrons here is 12 at the left hand side, while the number of electrons at the right hand side is 6. They need to be either 12 12 or 6 6. So that is why I have added 6 electrons here. So that when this thing, now this becomes minus 2 of this plus 14 minus 6. Remember, this is minus 2. This is plus 14, and this is that 6 electrons I have added.